nākāśaṁ vidyate kiṁ-cit pūrvamākāśa-lakṣaṇāt alakṣaṇaṁ prasajyeta syāt pūrvam yadi lakṣaṇā.
nākāśaṁ vidyate kiṁ-cit pūrvam ākāśa-lakṣaṇāt alakṣaṇaṁ prasajyeta syāt pūrvam yadi lakṣaṇāt. MMK chapter 5 verse 1. A priori, before characterizing of space, not an inch of space is found. If space were there prior to characterizing, that would mean it not having characteristics. So it's quite appropriate that I've shifted myself to this more spacious spot. The sun has come out, and this is the spot where I have a great sense of having space and time. Not always, but on a good day. See, with time and emptiness, when we feel we're short of time, that's based on a non-empty kind of conception, that time is limited, that time starts and finishes. So, as we'll explore later on, in Nagarjuna's exploration of emptiness, he says that there's no such thing as existence, there's no such thing as existing things. And if there's no existing thing, there can't be time, because time and existence are inseparable from each other. So if we think of existence, if we think of an existing thing as a non-empty thing, then it's eternal. So it has that temporal aspect. But if there's no existing thing, there's no time. So Nagarjuna's quite radical conclusion is there is no time. And generally speaking, that sounds too difficult to get our heads around. But I think we get a glimpse of it when we're absolutely in not kind of any hurry to get anywhere. And that is exactly how I feel if I sit here in the sunshine. No sound apart from, you can hear the stream about 40 yards away. Soon it'll be spring and the birds will be singing loudly. At the moment you can't hear any singing of birds either. So that's the teaching about elements that will be the conclusion of this chapter. That the happiness is the cessation of things being out there to be realised. Drashtavyam, literally the to be seen. Happiness is the cessation of the to be seen. So that's what the Buddha experienced under the Bodhi tree in Master Dogen's rendering of it, or Master Tendo Nyojo's rendering of it, that there was nothing the Buddha wanted. That's the cessation of the to be realised, the cessation of end gaining. So that cessation of end gaining is what happens when we're no longer blind. It's when we see. But before that time, we believe, as people of meagre understanding, in the existence and the non-existence of things. Those are the two views that the Buddha negated. Shashvata drishti, the view that things exist, and ucheda drishti, the cutting off view, the view that things don't exist. So two kind of interest in ontological problems, really. Two kind of false responses to ontological questions, which in a sense are false questions. And the end of this chapter, the conclusion is going to be that drashtavyopasamam, the cessation of the to be seen, in other words, the stopping of end gaining, is shivam, happiness. So it echoes the dedicatory verses that say, pratitya samutpadam prapanchopashamam shivam, dependent arising, the cessation of prapancha, cessation of spinning things into self-existence, shivam, happiness. That's what the Buddha taught. The Buddha taught happiness. He didn't teach us to be interested in ontology. So, ontologically, people think that space, ākāśa is the first of six elements. Those 6 elements are, if I check my footnote, in Sanskrit, they are ākāśa, space, bhu, earth, jala, water, tejas, fire, anila, air, and vijnana, consciousness. So those are the 6 elements. And if we believe in existence, if we believe in the existence of things, then we tend to think that, so first of all, a priori, you have this basic stuff of existence, the first being space. And so then, there being this stuff a priori, then the stuff takes on attributes or characteristics. So a characteristic in Sanskrit, or an attribute, is lakṣaṇā. But interestingly, we've already come across the fact that when a noun is an na action, when it's an na, ends in na, it's usually best translated in English as ing. So lakṣaṇā is actually, before it means characteristic, it means characterizing, or an act of characterizing. And that translation might be important because later on in the chapter, Nagarjuna is going to talk about lakṣaṇasya pravritir. So an activity, pravriti, or a commencement of lakṣaṇa, characterizing. And then again in verse 4, so that was in verse 3, lakṣaṇasya pravritir, the activity of characterizing, or the beginning of characterizing. We've got a compound in verse 4, lakṣaṇā sampravritau, so the non-starting of characterizing, the non-starting of lakṣaṇa. So you see that if you look at other translations, you'll see lakṣaṇa being translated as characteristic, which it means that, but it also means characterizing. So lakṣa means a mark or a sign. So lakṣaṇā, literally marking or characterizing, then means characteristic, but it also means characterizing. And in seeing it like that and reading it like that, Nagarjuna was following Ashvaghosha. If anybody read my blog, Mining Ashvaghosha's Gold, I put as the strapline to it, digging out the meaning of kañcānaṁ asanam. Kañcānaṁ asanam. So that's how that was the metaphor that seemed to make sense to me with the work I was doing. Ashvaghosha, the conclusion of Soundarananda is he talks about making gold, asking us to make from dusty words, if you like, to fashion gold. And so that's what, if our job is to recover, to redeem the Buddha's true gold, I like to see myself as a kind of explorer or a miner with pick and shovel in hand. So that's the background to that strapline, digging out the meaning of kañcānaṁ asanam. And kiṁ-cit means gold, golden. And āsāṇaṁ means, on the face of it, it means a seat. So Asvaghosha describes the Buddha before he leaves the palace, sitting on a golden seat, kiṁ-cit āsāṇaṁ. But as in yoga, see, in yoga, the asana are the postures, which is interesting. They translate it like that because, it's, again, asana is literally means sitting. Before it means seat, it means sitting. So the original asana is sitting in lotus. It's not sitting in a lotus posture. It's asana means sitting. It doesn't mean posture, it means sitting. So kiṁ-cit āsāṇaṁ, on the surface it means a golden seat. But what it really means in Asvaghosha's suggestion in his poetry is golden sitting. And that's what sitting in lotus that's what sitting in lotus is in the Buddha's teaching. It's the truth itself. Not that the truth exists as a thing unto itself, of course. So from the English, a priori is pūrvaṁ. Pūrvaṁ means a priori, prior to, before. Before characterizing of space. So pūrvaṁ ākāśa-lakṣaṇāt. So lakṣaṇāt is ablative. So that pūrvaṁ, before, prior to, takes the ablative. So pūrvaṁ ākāśa-lakṣaṇāt, before characterizing of space. So I've added the word there, a priori. It's a bit of poetic license, but I want to convey the sense that this is the opponent's non-empty conception, that a priori the elements exist. So a priori, before characterizing of space, pūrvaṁ ākāśa-lakṣaṇāt, not an inch. So na kiṁ-cit. So kiṁ-cit means a little. So not a little of space. Doesn't sound right. I thought of translating not a bit of space, but I thought not an inch of space would be more natural English. So na kiṁ-cit, not an inch of space, ākāśaṁ, vidyate, is found. So ākāśaṁ is nominative singular, neuter, ākāśa, space. Nākāśaṁ vidyate kiṁ-cit pūrvaṁ ākāśa-lakṣaṇāt. A priori, before characterizing of space, not an inch of space is found. If space, in square brackets, so if is yadi, if space were there, syāt, syāt, third person singular optative of as, to be. Sometimes we say asti is there is, so syāt, there were. Syāt yadi, yadi syāt, if there were. Or, if space is understood, if space were there. If space were there, ākāśaṁ, in square brackets, yadi syāt. Prior to characterizing, so alakṣaṇaṁ pūrvaṁ, again, prior to characterizing is pūrvaṁ lakṣaṇāt. Pūrvaṁ again takes the ablative, so not alakṣaṇaṁ, my mistake. Lakṣaṇāt, pūrvaṁ lakṣaṇāt. Prior to characterizing, that would mean, so literally prasajyeta means would follow. So what would follow is alakṣaṇaṁ, not having characteristics. So lakṣaṇaṁ again, characterizing, and the negative prefix a means not having characteristics. So alakṣaṇaṁ prasajyeta, not having characteristics, would follow. So prasajyeta is third person singular optative, it would follow. So alakṣaṇaṁ prasajyeta, not having characteristics, would follow. I've translated that. That would mean it not having characteristics. So again, if yadi, space, square brackets, were there, syāt, prior to characterizing pūrvaṁ lakṣaṇāt, that would mean it not having characteristics. Alakṣaṇaṁ prasajyeta, alakṣaṇaṁ prasajyeta syāt pūrvaṁ yadi lakṣaṇāt. Alakṣaṇaṁ prasajyeta syāt pūrvaṁ yadi lakṣaṇāt. If space were there prior to characterizing, that would mean it not having characteristics. So in the opponent's non-empty conceptions, when the elements are the original things that exist before they take on attributes or characteristics, that separation in the non-empty scheme of things means that in the first place, somehow, space is out there, undefined, uncharacterized, without any attributes. So he's holding up the absurdity, how it doesn't work in practice to maintain non-empty conceptions. So why it's important, I think what Nagarjuna is saying, is that if we have these non-empty conceptions of things like space and time, it leads to the unhappiness, to the suffering of an end-gaining attitude. It's very ironic. It's very ironic that I'm the one that's saying this, because my wife's father is notoriously impatient, and she's often heard to ask herself why the hell she married somebody who was like her father, because I'm extremely impatient as well. And Nishijima Sensei, on the other hand, was extremely patient. And the patience, of course, is one of the kshanti, patience, endurance, is one of the transcendent virtues. And in Japan, you tend to see a lot of it. People are incredibly patient. Whereas in the West, because of the way we're educated, especially if we're so-called well-educated, everything tends to be a race against time. And I've always been very bad like that. I think especially since missing a year between primary school and secondary school, I've always been in a hurry to be ahead of the game. And it's rooted, that attitude is really rooted in a non-empty culture, really. But the irony of it was that attitude took me to Japan to study Master Dogen's teachings, and with my very critical, sharp mind, my end-gaining mind, I soon enough sniffed out there was something wrong with Nishijima Sensei's teaching. There was something very true about it, and something fundamentally wrong about it. And what's wrong with it, I understood on some level when I came to the Alexander technique, because I realised that Nishijima Sensei's teaching of right posture was end-gaining. It was based on a non-empty conception that there was such a thing as right posture, which one could achieve by doing this, that and the other. Whereas the Alexander principle of non-doing is that you give up that kind of trying based on the conception of there being an end to be gained. As Alexander famously said, there's no such thing as a right position or a right posture, but there is a right direction. So our energy should be focused not on the finality of gaining an end, but rather going in the right direction. I think it has something to do with what Samuel Beckett was getting at with Waiting for Godot, having just been listening to that on explained in our time on BBC Radio 4 while I was doing a bit of clearing out the shed. I was listening to that, and yes, it has, I suppose, something to do with existentialism in Germany and France that Beckett was coming to terms with. But then if we're digressing into Western philosophy, we shouldn't neglect to mention John Dewey, who was a champion of the school in American philosophy called pragmatism. And Dewey's later thinking was influenced very, very profoundly by having lessons with F.M. Alexander. Anybody can look that up. Just Google Dewey and Alexander, and you'll find photos of the two of them together, laughing away. So it's back. I think with existentialism, pragmatism, people study those philosophical thoughts, they'll recognise something in what Nagarjuna is saying. And what Nagarjuna is saying, ironically enough, is nothing progressive, but more a question of going back to what the Buddha went back to, which is pratitya samutpadam prapanchopashamam shivam. Springing up together by going back, which is the cessation of spinning things into existence. And that, the conclusion we're working towards at the end of this chapter, that is happiness. So when we give up the non-empty conception of space existing as an a priori thing, that is happiness. So instead of the end-gaining, non-empty conception of space, there's letting the neck be free, to let the head go forward and up, to let the back lengthen and widen, sending the knees forwards and away. And in giving those directions, am I in fact trying to be right, according to my very deeply ingrained old habits? Yep, I probably am. Yep. As Marjorie Barlow said, we're all going around the whole time trying to be right. That's why we have a sense of space being insufficient, despite sitting in a place like this. Reminds me of a lovely phrase of Marjorie's about teaching. She said, I give my directions and put my hands on the pupil and then think of doing nothing. And then I ask myself, what kind of nothing am I doing? In what kind of way, in other words, as I'm bullshitting on about space, in what kind of way am I really hanging on to my old conception of an a priori existing thing? What's the use? Bring on the strippers.